I load 16 tons. Alright, so welcome to the first video I'm doing with the DJI Pocket 2 strapped to my head so it looks ridiculous. I've tested this with the driving video and I know my breathing is going to be real loud because the microphones in this are amazing. The only problem is when you run it upside down on your head is that the microphones don't flip, but the video does, so I'm going to have to do that in post. Anyway, we're here to review, finally, and I brought a little light in case I need to show you. This is the Pioneer VSX-LS505, and I haven't done a lot of surround receivers in a while. It feels so weird. I haven't reviewed them because I've always like, well, they're too much. There's so much to go through, and I'm never gonna be able to get through with it. But this is the first Atmos receiver I've gotten in the house, and I kind of went nutty. I don't know if I'm putting that clip at the end, probably at the end, because these speakers, these are the Klipsch specific Atmos speakers, but they're not designed to be where they are. I actually took this $700 set of speakers, which, or 600, maybe 600, that Klipsch was gracious enough to send to me, and then I screwed brackets into the back of them, the same brackets I'm hanging the Swans for my other surround sound, so that I could have them actually up in Atmos position. These are originally designed, as I said in the video section, which you'll see eventually, to be put on top of normal speakers to bounce. The problem with bouncing in my basement is this is filled with insulation and bounce doesn't work. So I had to get a little more direct. And so I set them up there perfectly. If I sit down, this is Little Narbert's little theater. We've got the Klipsch 1000s as the front three. They actually sent me the 8060 to use as bounce, but obviously that won't work. But they are perfectly in line, going from there up, making this now with the addition of these old Emotiva. I figured I really, here's the thing. This is my first speaker, and I don't like them. I don't like the way they sound. They're just too harsh. They're too harsh when they're in your face and you're playing music. But you know what? Fuck it. I'll put them back here, shooting outwards, and that'll be my channel 6 and 7. Initially, and here's one of the first complaints I'm going to make about this Pioneer. I'll make many complaints, specifically about the build. It doesn't allow you to do a single back channel, which old receivers used to allow you to do. Real quick rundown of what we're listening to. So, computer here, hooked up with HDMI 2 receiver. Receiver is outputting to this lovely 8-year-old now Vizio 50-inch. You know why it's a Vizio 1080p 50-inch? Because it doesn't fucking matter here. This space is for sound. I can make this a 30-inch television and still do my job here. Ignore the SVS Prime Wireless. They're just coming up in a review. We've got the receiver is in current mode, a 7.1.2. The last number is the Atmos channels. This receiver can handle, hold on, wait. As much as I want to continue playing, this is Death on the Nile, by the way, which I haven't seen, but I've opened it and I'm like, Atmos War. I wonder how that's coming out in this camera, because I actually didn't verify how it's filming the screen. This is an official 11.2 processing receiver. And actually, I am running 2 subwoofers, but just because I'm doing this whole thing, if you check my second channel, I explain how the DBX Go rack controls all my subwoofers and all my sources. It's wild. Currently, $1,000. Now, as much as I am an audiophile, and 2 channels great, fuck that shit, surround sound. I like my movies, I like my anime, I like my TV shows. And if you've ever heard surround sound music is pretty fucking amazing. Like, go find a live concert and go put that on. and just be like, oh yeah, no, the 2 channels doesn't do this justice, because you need the crowd behind you, and you need the height of the instruments, you got the backup singers. So I'm a passionate surround sound enthusiast, and for the longest time I was anti-Atmos. My friends know this, I know this. This theater over here literally cannot become Atmos because I'm using a wild mini DSP. Relax, I'm not bothering you. A wild mini DSP thing that's sending digital signals to all the speakers, so none of them are getting analog conversions, and it's my passion project. But you can't just add Atmos. So this was my first foray, second foray. I did that whole giant Emotiva $4,000 processor Atmos thing. And I'm going to say right now, standing here in the first 5 minutes of this video, that Pioneer Elite is better than the entire fucking Chonka Wonka monoprice son of a bitch Atmos thing. For one reason: processing. If you'll note, directly under this Pioneer VSX-LS505 is an Emotiva A7 with a fuck ton of remote controls on it, because that's how this works. Close that stupid door. I hate that door. Tilt this up a little bit. I'm trying to learn how to use this camera on my head. You want me to list the problems with the Pioneer right now, right off the bat? You'll notice there's gray tack on the front of it. You know why? Because they've decided that everything that gets used will have a blue LED. Now, those two aren't currently lit up, but they light up. The network one and the MCACC Advanced. Blue LED, blue LED, blue LED. This one never goes off, even if you tell it to dim the screen with the remote, which we're going to have to talk about the remote, because I fucking hate it. So the reason I'm using a separate 7-channel amplifier is because I had this whole setup, excluding these DIY Swan 3.1s, which am using as my side/rear channels, or slide back, because now they're sides, because now those exist. Those didn't exist. You can see the temporary wiring for them. These were using that Klipsch 1U amplifier, but I was using this as the main. And I went, why does it not sound as good as it used to with the old MC700 Emotiva processor? And it turns out it was all amplification. For $1,000, you get amplifications. But being a $1,000 receiver, it means you also get access to pre-outs, full pre-outs. Every single one of these channels is working. Center, left, right, side, left, side, right, Atmos. No, I'm sorry. Back, and Atmos is being handled by the receiver itself, which I'm pretty sure I'm not going to notice a degradation in the amplification of the Atmos speakers that are on the ceiling. I'll even uncover them. These speakers, by the way, are designed to sit on top of speakers or be wall mounted, sort of there, facing down, because they're built as a wedge. So by me putting them where they are the truest form of Atmos. I was kind of inspired to do this from my Cedia trip. If you haven't seen my visit to Cedia in Denver, I went into a lot of rooms that are worth as much as this entire house. No joke. I paid $610 for this house during the height of COVID. And, 10 acres and 3,000 square foot basement. I feel like I got a good deal. Because right now, this house is probably worth more than most luxury fucking sports cars. Supercars. Or hypercars for that matter. And I was in rooms that had 24 subwoofers. Or, was it 30? It was 32 subwoofers, 32 21-inch subwoofers, and 97 ceiling speakers. And it wasn't like I was inspired because they were great. I was inspired for the same reason I was inspired to do reviews in the first place. Because I went to the show and they were shit. The same reason I used to go to 2-channel shows like RMAF and the New York Audio Show. And soon my upcoming trip, unless it's happened already, because release schedule, by the way, patrons get these videos way longer now that I'm on a 3-day release schedule. But I'm going to go to Capital Audio Fest. And you know what? 80% of the rooms that I go to in Capital Audio Fest will not be as good as what I can do in my little fucking basement with a budget 1/10 the cost. So I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me see. Let me actually put the effort in to making an Atmos surround sound in my little Narberth area with just some like $30 in brackets, and I'll take these $700 Atmos speakers, just 2 of them. I could have 4. If I put 4 to get this spot, I'd have to bring them out here into like the VR area. But I could have 4 speakers, but I'm just going to add the 2. And then I'm going to take the processing from this $1,000 receiver, which is reasonably priced. I would say if you're going for like, I want to build the best fucking thing, you're going to spend more in your subwoofer than you are in your receiver. And I'm okay with that. Because I've always said the thing that's going to change out the most in your home theater will be 2 things, actually. And it'll probably happen at the same time. Your television will go from 1080p to 4K to 8K, from OLED to mini LED. I was obsessed with that mini LED 85-inch Samsung for $6,500. It actually made me want to buy a TV instead of like a projector. This is wild. But you'll change your TV out with the technology, and you'll change your receiver out with the technology. Because the processing, that's what I'm here to review right now. Because the actual build of this Pioneer is shit. Like, I'm not joking. Like, here, and Klipsch is the ones who sent me the surround setup. I had that center channel. It got its own review. I got the RP500Ms. They got their own review. I got the 8060 Towers. They got their own review. And you can consider this a review of those bastards. They're phenomenal, as you would expect. They've got a switch in the back that switches between Atmos and surround mode. They're currently in surround setup because they're not designed to bounce. All right, Zeos, why is this shit? And I don't know if you need the light to see this. You probably don't, but here's the door. And there's no, like, reason for there to be a door because it's just a flat surface. And then the door, clamshelled open, and there's just double stick tape that holds the door with the little... It's not even fucking metal. It's just plastic. I want to rip this door off. It's useless. And then you got a giant, like, glass display, but it's only the little bit in the middle. I can't pick it up for you because it's mounted in my fucking rig. But it weighs nothing. And I know, look, I'm the king of, like, look how good these small, cheap amplifiers are. You can get a bunch of Faux amplifiers. And they weigh, you know, if you gutted them out of their enclosures, they'd weigh nothing. Unfortunately, Pioneer has not gone with that system, and they've just got like a single stupid, it's just, all right, the amplification, this is not great. All right. I would purchase this $1,000 unit. If you need to use the amplification, which I'm using here for the Atmos speakers, if you need to use it for Atmos, that's fine. But if you're driving quality fronts and rears and sides, get something external. You can see how it's all hooked up. And there is surround back outputs. So I could... I'm using the heights. Oh, I am running those off of this. Those guys there, those are the ones being used off the internal amplifiers. Because who gives a shit? They're literally 12 feet behind me just screaming. Just to make it so when sound happens back there, it happens back there. I will permanently mount those in a way. See if I could use this without this. I will permanently mount those up near the silver ducting at some point. But there's a lot going on over there. And if you're swinging around your arms in VR, I really don't want to add too much more for you to punch. Expensive punches are expensive. Shut up. I love you. Come here. I'll give you treats if you come here and be on my video. He's not like Chewbacca. Chewbacca was a star, and the Drake is just over there. He wants to just... I think he's protesting something. Are you going to go on strike? Everyone's on strikes. Might as well put the cats on strike. So let's look at the back of this now. Here are your Wi-Fi antennas, because of course it's a smart thing. Everything's a smart thing. You've got your digital ins, your antenna ins. You got one coaxial, one fiber optic. That's it. Your FM antenna. Oh, look, he's trying to be a star. The Drake, what do you think? I've got a camera on my head. He's really freaked out because I have like a third eye. Antennas for if you want to do AM, FM. You've got your ground in case you need to ground something. It just says signal ground. I don't have that hooked up. Here are your analog inputs. You've got a bank of 5. You actually get a component video and standard video inputs so you could use your old video game consoles. That's literally the only reason those would be here. You don't need a yellow video input for any other reason than old video game consoles. You do have 2 infrared receivers, or I'm sorry, you have 1 infrared in and 1 out. So if you lock this away in a cabinet, you can put a little receiver so you can still use your remote. It'll also blast out, so if your equipment is below it, it will act as a... Now you're just being a dick. Now you're just being a dick. It'll blast out and control the rest of your stuff. Followed by 2 12-volt triggers. One of them is in use here. That turns on and off this Emotiva when I turn off the unit. This turns off so the amplifiers go off. It's wonderful when 12-volt stuff is actually in use. You get an RS232C fucking controller, which I've never used in my life. I don't know who would. You get your full pre-outs for every channel, although this is an 11.2, and here's the problem. While it has 2 subwoofer outs, one of them being used here, I don't believe that they're separate. I think it would just be... I've seen none of the options in the settings that let you split the subs, so it just happens to have 2 sub outs, but you could accomplish that same thing if you got a RCA splitter. You just might lose a little bit voltage compared to this. You get your height 2 and your zone B. Now, height 2, here's the thing. You either... You don't get amplification for that. They've already just cut that off. Like, they don't have the space. They got zone 2, and then height 2 is RCA, so you'd have to use an external amplifier. I'd recommend a Faux. And then you could put your other ones in the back. And so it says 11.2 point... It can actually say how many you can get. I think you have to swap. You have to swap channels. It can do 11 channels of signal, they're not amplification for all of them. And then you get your detachable power plug, which is actually something I have to state. You get, how many? 6 HDMI ins, 2 HDMI outs, including a main and a sub, which the main is 8K. If you're wondering about the specs, just read the specs. I could spend 30 minutes reading the specs of any one of these new receivers, which is another reason I avoid them. And then you get network there. You can wire it. And you got a USB 5-volt 1 amp, which is just for accessories. It's not for flashing the firmware or anything like that. So it's actually a pretty competent rear. I'd like to see... No, that's fine. You know what? I was going to say I'd like to see more separate fiber optic ins, but I don't think the DAC in this is good enough. So if you wanted to, like, set it up for just your stereo, it'd be, good for that. We're here to talk about the processing. Put this stupid light... Zeos, if you could find the Feed Electric WLR2002, it's a great magnetic work light. So, unlike my Pioneer VSX D1S, which was my father's vintage, amazing, push that button, the door opens, and it's like inset, and it's all made of metal, and it felt, I think that thing at the time was $700 in like the 90s, which made it like $50 trillion in today's money. This is built physically like shit. And I'm kind of upset by that. But at the same time, for what I'm doing with it, I don't care. Take this door. You're never going to open the door. You get your, if you lose the remote, you get your tuning and presets and zone 2 controls and dimmer. Hey, look. Oh my God, it has a red light when you turn it off. It didn't do that before. 1, 2, 3. Look at that. We could actually go. It even turns off that. What's happening? That wasn't a case before, so I actually approve of that. Because this wasn't able to go. If I do that, hold on, wait a second. Wait a fucking second. Where is dim on this? Terrible remote, by the way. Absolutely horrendous. The feel on it is just abysmal. I can't find the buttons. Dimmer. Oh, it does it now. You know what? There was a firmware update. I wonder if they changed that. Because now that goes off. Because that thing used to not go off at all. And that thing never went off. So now I can actually set it to... Oh, I'm doing that shit. All right, this just went up a half a notch in my mind. That didn't... I promise you, that did not go off when I previously did it. Let's look at the remote for a second. Let's walk into the light. The pain of the light. So, doesn't look like a terrible remote. It's got a little finger notch back here. First problem, and this is always my biggest issue with any remote... If my thumb doesn't automatically rest on the volume control, which I'm imagining is going to be the most used function of almost anything in audio, Like a TV, maybe you want your thumb on the enter button, so you're adjusting, going through channels and things. But in this case, I want the volume. And the volume is at a point where I have to like literally almost drop the remote to find it. Because you go down and everything is a very soft rubber, but it's not very well defined. You have to kind of search for the volume. You get your personal presets, your HDMI main or sub. So if I hit that, TV will go off. Because I switched between the main output and the sub output, and it's just like, what did I do? What happened? Oh God, what happened? And then you figure it out and you go back to that. You got a sleep button, which I guess is your sleep timer in case you're watching a movie and you plan to fall asleep, you old fuck. Blu-ray disc games, the normal inputs including net and Bluetooth. It does have Bluetooth. And then there's an input select, which if I hit that, does anything actually... Nope, nothing actually happens. Then you've got some weird controls for play, pause, next track, last track, which I could assign with a FLIRC. I have a FLIRC here, just sort of hanging out, so that if I wanted to infrared control it, at least it's infrared and not wireless. I hate when they're like Wi-Fi control, because then you can't use a FLIRC or anything. You do have to still aim it, which can be negative to some people. You get your information status button. Why is nothing working? Hold on, I'm hit home. All right, at least the remote is functioning, and it is functioning through this. So I've just hit System Setup, or the Home button. We'll get to this in a second, I suppose. You get your cluster of up, down, left, right, preset, tune, enter, information, AV adjust, home, and return. AV adjust is very specific controls that just pop up on the bottom. They don't bring you to the full menu. Your mute button. Oh my fucking God. Can I just talk about the mute button being like right here, like right there? When you're in the menu here, if you go to System Setup and you go to like Speaker and you go to like Channel Level, and it's going to play the test tone. Right? Oh, what happened? Oh, was I hitting down and missed and hit mute? And now Channel Level is not only not available, it kicked me out? What? Only in like the most emergency situations would you accidentally, absolutely 100% non-accidentally need to mute the test tones and then get kicked out of your settings screen. And the thing is, look at the button that goes down and look at my thumb. It hits both. Now I have a rather large thumb. Thank you so much. But I don't want to do this. I want to do this. And you put the mute button right there. I cannot. And look, unmute. Channel level is now available. Mute, channel level not available. What kind of UI integration is this shit, Pioneer? Pioneer Elite used to mean something. Literally comparing to a Pioneer VSX D1S from the 90s. Japanese made, 130 watt per channel stereo outputs that rival almost anything I've reviewed speaker amplifier wise. From the 90s. To the 2023s, like that thing had like 0.003% THD in the 90s at 130 watts per channel. This is probably a giant pile of shit. I don't know what the amplification measurements are because no one lists them and no one cares. So yeah, you get your standards. You get your standard configuration. You go, if I go back to this, go back. You get your system setup, which is basic stuff. Then you get your advanced MCACC, which is their room correction. Now you have full and manual, and it comes with a little microphone. And you can do the MCACC corrections. And I did it, and I wasn't that impressed. However, this unit comes with DIRAC as well. And you're like, well, Zeos, I don't see an option for DIRAC. And Zeos in the past is like, I don't see an option for DIRAC. By the way, network and Bluetooth settings there. To do the DIRAC correction, you literally have to have the app, because everything's got a fucking app. So you get the app, you get the Pioneer Control app on your phone, which I think has a 2.6 out of 5 stars, and you connect that to the network, and then you connect the app to your phone, which is on the network, and then out of the grace of God, it connects, because that's the only way it's going to work. And then you could set it to do the DIRAC stuff. And then you put the same microphone, you follow the instructions, you move it around. And I did 3 locations. I didn't want to do more than that because I sit here alone most of the time. I did the 3 locations, and that's when we start getting into praise of this unit. Because I could complain about the build, I can complain about how the amplifiers sound thin, I can complain about the remote control being just like this weird fucking clusterfuck of soft buttons that you can't navigate by touch. But sound quality, using it as a processor into solid amplifiers, it's not even just sound quality, the way it's dealing with things. So let me get out of this. Can you understand how this works? It's got speaker settings, audio adjust source, miscellaneous. Let's see what miscellaneous has. Tuner, yeah, no, none of this matters. I did the firmware update. I did an over-the-air firmware update. That's got to be why the light goes off now. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. By the way, I also put, I bought these felt triangles that you fold into triangles, like to make a thing, and I just put them over here around the speaker, and it actually did improve so that there's soft edges. I noticed that on a lot of the speakers at Cedia. They were doing very, very directional, and then they had walls, and they were doing a lot of foam stuff. So I'm stealing shit from Cedia. I don't know everything, but I go to people who know more than me, and I steal their knowledge, just like AI does. It's going to be fantastic. Nice screensaver. But we don't want a screensaver right now. We want tibbies. Giant, sweaty anime tibbies. That unit as a processing center for sound is the best I've heard. So there you go. How long are we into this video? 25 minutes before I praise it? I literally was like using it because I was fine. Oh, I'm getting rid of the MC700. I can get rid of those issues where if it's running, the computer will stop recognizing it as surround sound. It didn't work. The computer is still, are we done with the back of it? I can put my wire curtains back. It still happens. If I leave this computer running and that receiver on or off whenever I'm doing, by the way, this thing idles at 65 watts, which is quite a bit in the 2023 age. Most of the lights in my house aren't 65 fucking watts. All right, this basement's like 130 watts for everything that's running. And I leave them on 24 hours a day. So I'm not willing to add another 50% of my basement power usage to leave the receiver running. So turn the fucking receiver off. But where did my brain just went, there's a coffee. I didn't have any coffee. But as a processing unit for sound, where it's placing the sounds, it's another thing I got to talk about before I start praising it too great, because I'm keeping it here. I was using the MC700. It had that issue where it would disconnect. If I let this computer run and the receiver run, that's where I was, for just a couple days, 2-3 days. I go sit down, I turn on the TV, I turn on the receiver, I look, and in Windows, this probably won't be an issue if you're not using a computer as your source, but I have it set that if that thing freaks the fuck out, or the computer freaks out, it no longer will do surround sound. It is stereo only. And it did the same thing on my MC700 on 2 different computers here, on like straight Windows. So I don't know what the issue is, but it's annoying. So that issue persists. Before this video, I had to restart the whole computer and then turn this off and on. And then, okay, now it's back to the 7.1.2 surround receiver that you actually have connected. So didn't help in that regard. My brain. Okay, so now we're going on to how it handles surround modes. This is another negative. I could talk about the Pioneer, and that's great. But let's talk about something a little bit more modern. If you go back to the old fucking house where I used to start reviewing, I bought a Tascam receiver, which was an Onkyo. That was the higher-end brand Onkyo, which was Integra or Integral, whatever the hell it was. It was an Integra like 30.4, and it was rebranded again to a Tascam. That Tascam receiver is still in use, powering my Klipsch Fortes up in the sunroom as my own little third surround sound, because there's a big surround sound. Here's a big surround sound. The Fortes are in a small surround sound, but they'll be getting a sub upgrade because I don't need that 12-inch Emotiva anymore now that I have so many subwoofers. But that receiver, when you fed it a stereo signal, had so many options. Well, you want Dolby, Dolby Plus, Dolby plus THX. You want DTS, DTS ES, DTS expanded. You could just switch through a million surround settings. And I'm not talking about those ones that are like orchestra, studio, bathroom. Those are bullshit. I don't understand, and they exist on this. But the only option you need to set is surround. You put on surround. It has a terrible interface explaining what's going on. So it says PCM, even though the P is literally it literally has cut off the P. I can't see the P. The P is ruined. It says surround. It says auto standby. It's showing me height left, height right, subwoofer front. It's showing me what's hooked up, or at least what I've told it to use. And HDMI. It used to be when you set a mode, if you put on a DTS HD movie, it would pop up a big light in red that says, hey, you are using DTS HD and here are the speakers I'm using. This unit, if I put on stereo content, which I should probably play something that's not Death on the Nile. If you put on just stereo content, it doesn't change the display. It's just like, yeah, well, guess what? We're not going to light up the DTS thing, even though it's not specifically DTS or master. We're just not going to tell you what's going on. It's going to be fine. It's fine, right? It's fine? Cool. It's fine? Great. I actually went through the demo discs that when I had the mono price surround here, I ripped all that guy's demo disc stuff, and I started renaming them. So I got clips from movies and I got demos. So let's see. F1 Racing, Forest Creatures, Future Piano. It's a good one. These are all copyright free, I imagine. Now, it's going to break. It did this on another fucking thing. Why is it broken? It's not going to play audio at all, is it? Nope, something's absolutely broken and wrong. Why? Why did it break today? Of all the days for it to break. And it's broken. All right. Cool. So, now that that's a complete waste of my time, surround processing. So you got to figure it out. This is when you use a computer for a surround receiver and not like, I don't know, an NVIDIA Shield or an Apple TV or like a Blu-ray player if you still have discs. You're sort of like introducing this like 15th layer of just bullshit that can break. I don't know why it's doing this. Literally never did it. I swear, baby, it's never happened before. I swear. But I don't need it to play sound in order to tell you about how good it is. I sit down here and I'll put on a movie. And when you put on an Atmos movie, the speakers on the ceiling come alive. I didn't think this was going to make a big deal. All right? Let's talk about Atmos for a second. I love I had just 5.1. Center, sides, fronts, and then sides. And that was enough for me. And then I went to Cedia. And I could taste that there was a glimmer of like, you know what? If movies can actually extract this much environment, but I could do it better, let me fucking do it better. So, back channels. If you add, those are your rears until you have back channels, and then you have sides and back channels. So add it up, make it a 7.1. And now let's just add these two ceiling speakers. Right? Now, you could do this with bounce. If you don't know how Atmos bounce works, if you have a solid, hard ceiling, you can take a speaker like this and mount it, or you get the 8060s like this, which have the son of a bitch built-in bounce speakers, which are here, which just fire up a certain number of frequencies. Obviously, you're not going to bounce low end, so they just cut off everything probably below 500 hertz. And they just shout at your ceiling. And your ceiling goes, and reflects it back down. So it gives you the illusion of sound coming from above you. By the way, both of those subwoofers are on because I'm an idiot. I'm going to be reviewing the Klipsch 1400. But that was just sitting there also plugged in, and I just went, whoop, on. Oh, God. You can't imagine what Dune was like last night. Dune is the inspiration for starting this whole thing. Even though probably wouldn't play because something's fucky. Adding Atmos speakers changes the way the receiver makes the sound total. Doing the DIRAC correction on everything made a huge change. Although I will say this, fuck DIRAC correction because it tried to make my beautiful, lovely Klipsch THX Ultra 2 THX 5000s, which are a sealed giant box with two 5 1/4s. It did the listening with the DIRAC with the microphone. It was like, those speakers don't have a lot of low end. which in the normal case, you go into the menu and set it to small. But what DIRAC said was, nah, I'll fix that. I'll just boost the bass like 20 decibels and set them to large. And you know what? I noticed a difference, and it was really good sounding until I heard it go during Top Gun Maverick. And then I went, wait, mute the sub, because I have the ability to literally go mute, and there was still low end. And there shouldn't be low end, because these don't produce low end. These end at like 80 hertz, or THX specifically. Well, the fucking DIRAC correction decided in its ultimate wisdom that no, you don't know about your speakers. I can make these produce bass. And indeed, it did make them very impactful. But it was going to throw the drivers out into my fucking face. So if you run the DIRAC correction on any modern receiver, because I'm assuming DIRAC does not take this into account, you have to go back into your settings and make sure you set this shit to small. Or else it will try to make any speaker large. And I don't want you to take my very rare $1,000 Klipsches that are designed not to have low end and try to give them low end. You're going to break them. It literally was like, phew, I felt it in my chest. I'm like, that's amazing. Oh, wait, you're trying to destroy my speakers. Okay, set these all to small again. That's another thing. This receiver. Complaint. Usually you can set center to large or small, sides or fronts to large or small, sides to large or small. As soon as you set the fronts to small, everything's small. Fuck you. You got a giant tower speaker here with dual 10s? No, small. Because your sides are small. Your front left and right are small. I'm like, give me the option to not. Give me the option to mix and match. The options are going away. That's the whole of life, is just all the options start going away. Because, people don't need this. People don't need this option. Nah. I set that till, I think there might be, here, I'll even go back into the menu. I might even restart this goddamn computer again, try to get it to play surround sound. You know what? Give me a second. I'm restarting this computer again. I want surround sound for this demo. You know what's weird? It literally, this computer, I put an SSD in it because this is my friend Dan. It's an old Optiplex. It's like an Optiplex 7020 for those nerds out there. Like, what kind of Dell is that, Zeos? I put an SSD in it. And I put RAM in it because it had like shit RAM and no hard drive at all. And it is the fastest restarting computer in my fucking house. I should have just restarted during the video. Anyway, it works now. Just a computer restart. And that's, I love the backs are being used in this demo. But this is like, all those are up there and all those are just moving around in a circle. It's like I'm immersed in sound, and I know that's I hate that. That's like calling me an influencer. Oh, it's so immersive sound. But no. It actually feels like I am in a pool of liquid. And that it's just surrounding me. That's how they fucking came up with this marketing. They're terrible at marketing, so am I. With the DIRAC correction, with this thing running and the DIRAC correction, now that I've got good amplification on most of the channels, and I'm not relying on whatever the Pioneer thinks it's doing with... don't call it an elite Pioneer. It's not. It is not an elite. It is a Pioneer whatever 505. And reserve the elite, which I should probably point this out too. Hold on, let me go. Oh, Firefox closed. Hold on. Firefox, FF. Give me some FF. I'm going to point this out. The receivers in this lineup are all in the same... Come on. Are all on the same exact page on Amazon. So there'll be one Amazon link in the description for this. They have the 105 for $650, the 305 for $899, the 505 for $999, and then it goes from that to $3,000 for the 805. Now, 650, 900, 1,000, yes, that's a price difference. But to have the next step, like, I feel like that spread is wrong. It's like, who's going to spend 650 instead of 9 if you're really investing in it? But then if you're going to spend, wait, if you're going to spend 9, you're going to spend 1,000. Am I wrong about that? Like, are you going to actually like, no, Zeos, I have $1,000 budget, or I have a $900 budget. I can't go up. I've always told people when people asks me, hey Zeos, I want to build a surround sound. Where do I start? What are my goals? You set a budget. You take most of that budget for the speakers, because these are the things that are going to be around. These can live up here for 10 years easy and never need to be changed. Maybe moved. Maybe have sister speakers added to them. But most of the time, a speaker is going to last. A subwoofer might even last the longest. You could use a subwoofer for 15 years because it makes bass. And the technology, other than getting an HSU and then ending your search for the best subwoofer, which, by the way, again, I'll restate this. I heard it at Cedia. You give me a room with 32 subwoofers like they had at Cedia, or my HSU in this basement, it's my HSU in this basement every fucking day. Every fucking day. It's just better. It's more, it fills the, it's better. I don't know. Explain it more technically, Zeos. No, fuck you, better. I don't know what they were doing at Cedia, but it was all bad. And even my friend Alex, who was there, if you haven't seen the video, he's an enthusiast. He's been to Cedia tons of times. And he says, this year, disappointments all around. They're trying to like show off that they could channel correct. Like, oh, even this speaker here, if you sit here, you'll get the same experience as over there. The only way you do that is compromise. You compromise the sound everywhere to make it compromised everywhere. It's like, oh, all the prison food is now edible. But then no one gets the scraps and no one gets a good meal. I just want a good fucking meal. Let the people who are sitting in bad seats fuck off. Give the king of the castle the best experience possible. Fuck everybody else. Now, if you're really nice, yeah, I guess you want to make it sort of even. And you know what? My big theater back there, when I corrected it, I used like the 27-point DIRAC. And because I'm using mini DSP, and I put it in like 27 spots, so the whole couch gets a good experience. But you know what? It's not a great one. So when I switch it to stereo mode, it only has the small correction, only in the middle, and it's so much better. So you basically got to be a prick. What I'm telling you is you want to do a surround sound, you got to be a prick about it. You got to pick the spot, and then you could swap it out. If I have a friend come over, by the way, this is just using, I don't think the fronts are even doing anything. You know, these are silent. That's just the helicopter demo Dolby Atmos. So now it's just, if it was 4 speakers, it would be going around in a circle. So there's only 2, it's just going back and forth. Let's do one more demo. There's a really, really good one that I spent hours looking for it. Surfaces is what it's called. I tried to play this one during the other demo. Is it? No, this is not it. This is not it. Although that sounds amazing. The thing is, adding the height channels to a regular, plain level, essentially 5.1 or 7.1, it does something to the processing of the sound that smears all the sounds up. I have a whole video on height dominance, where if I say that's the whole reason these speaker stands are so fucking tall. Zeos, why do you have like belly button higher than belly button speaker stands I was using in my old apartment? Because if a speaker is low, it's talking to you or talking to your chin. You put a speaker up an extra foot, all of a sudden, no matter if it was the same speaker just moved up a foot, it sounds more dominating. It's like a bear. You're more afraid of a bear than a kitty cat. If the kitty cat was as big as a bear, you'd be fucking afraid. Trust me, it'll play with you while you're alive. It's not great. I have visions of this. What the hell was the volumes? That was the one I was actually trying to play. Pause. What this does, it allows all the sound from every channel to just up. Front, up. Center, up. It just gives you this like canopy of sound. And I'm a huge fan of the design aspects of Auro 3D versus Atmos, which is just 4 speakers up there, and DTSX, which is just 4 or 6 speakers up there. Auro 3D, what their pitch was, and hold on, we're missing a waifu while I'm discussing this. What Auro 3D and their Atmos competitor, because it was Atmos came first, and that's why it's winning. DTSX came out after the fact, and I have DTSX's demos, and this will handle DTSX. I think this will even handle Auro 3D, but doesn't do it true. True Auro 3D, here's what they did. Set up a standard 5.1 or 7.1 all around you in a circle, and then take your finger, point it exactly 15.7 or some odd degrees, and set up another 5.1 above your head, because humans can only understand like a certain number of angle above it. Like you could tell if a sound is coming from there or there or there. Laterally, it's fine. But as soon as you start going up, at some point, it's just, I don't know, up there somewhere. And they figured it out. And Auro 3D is, you're supposed to have a speaker, like a front speaker, which would be low. I would absolutely lower the stands and put a speaker here. And you're supposed to have another speaker up. There, literally there, so that when you go from a sound towering over you, it goes straight up to that one, and then above your head is only supposed to be 1 speaker, because it's just one called the Voice of God speaker, which is kind of fucking awesome on its own, not for religious reasons, just because fuck it. 1 speaker above your head, so then you could have every channel go there, above your head. So it requires a fuck ton of speakers and a lot of height. I don't have the height here in my little 8-foot ceilinged basement. Look how bulgy that is. To do an Auro 3D setup, but that would be the ultimate as far as in my brain, I could hear that's a better system. And I was even told that you can get a receiver like a Lexicon that will do it, like the actual Auro 3D. Lexicon receivers are like $14,000 for like the cheapest one. So probably not getting that anytime soon. Anyway, volumes. So much happening everywhere. Like you see that, like that is just going up. It's my other problem with anything Atmos. I still haven't gotten to my anime watching, so give me a second. My problem with everything Atmos is oh god, all these demos which have originating from like 2016 2018 when they're trying to sell Atmos as a system sound better than any movie clip I've got, because I've got tons of clips that they've included on those demo discs. If you go up to clips, along with the gods, American Made, Apollo 13, Backdraft, Batman Superman, Battle of Blackwater Bay from fucking Game of Thrones, Battleship, Despicable Me for some reason, Everest, Fast and the Furious, Harry Potter, Hellboy, Hot Fuzz, Hulk. All these fucking demos pale in comparison to an actual created demo by Atmos, by DTSX to show off their system. Because Hollywood's not mixing hard enough. That was one of the reasons I avoided Atmos entirely, because I've heard Atmos setups, like mediocre ones. Mine is an exceptional one. But you put on a demo like that, like Volumes or any of the fucking forest creatures, and you hear squirrels running along your head, and it's, oh my god. Then you put on Atmos content, and it's like, well, that's about 20% as great as the demo. And that persists to this moment. The processing, however, has gotten better so that even, and this is the best part, you're watching this video for this long, Zeos, why am I buying a $1,000 receiver that you fucking hate? That's built like shit, the remote sucks. Because if you put on non-Atmos content, and you have everything DIRAC corrected, it makes it sound, I'd say, 65% as good as actual Atmos content. It fakes it, baby. It's faux Atmos. You put on an old movie that's just 5.1, just fucking original Terminator, which was mono, which was expanded to 5.1 DTS master. They didn't make an Atmos version of that, but you put that on, and you put it on that receiver, and that receiver goes, you have 5 channels? Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to make these back channels happen. I'm going to make these top channels happen. I'm going to do the same magic shit that Atmos does with old content. And then, another step further. Eminence and Shadow Season 2. Was there a big fight in that? No. But Mushoku Tensei, any fucking anime, any 2-channel source. Anime is specifically 2-channel, unless it's a movie. And I watch it constantly. And on my receiver upstairs with the Forte, $5,000 Fortes, I put it on and I put it into fake surrounds mode. The modes I was complaining that are missing from this, where I put it in like a DTS music mode, where it takes the out of phase sounds and mixes them halfway between the back channels and the front channel, so it gives you like a surround. Nothing has ever made anime in 2-channel sound as good as this receiver. Because it's doing the best job I've ever heard of taking just 2 audio channels and ripping them into fucking shreds and putting it in an object-oriented thing. Because that's the whole point of Atmos, is it's not like you get a left channel, or you got a left channel and a left rear and a left height. It's an object. The whole point of Atmos, in case you don't know, is it takes a ball of sound, a fucking sound file, and it says globally position this center, then position it 27 degrees to the left, and then position it here, and then move it up. And it just blends between the speakers to make that seem realistic. The more speakers you have, the better it can track that sound, which is why when you go to a massive movie theater that's an Atmos theater, it sounds phenomenal. Unless you're at Cedia, then it sounds like shit. But it can literally go, if every one of these speakers was currently hooked up for Atmos for whatever reason, and someone shot a bullet and it went, it would literally go, it would be slightly loud there, quieter there because it's not directly in line. It would just be the sound of it whizzing past, and then it would go boom, 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 and then it would be a little quieter because the tweeter's not the right height. So you'd actually move the sound past all these sources, or these, actually no, you'd move the source sound past all these exit doors, and you would hear it, like poking holes in a dome. The new dome in Vegas, I kind of want to hear that. 160,000 direct speakers. Nutty. So Atmos has that wonderful ability, or DTSX has that wonderful ability. All these modern formats have that wonderful ability to be object-oriented sound. But standard 2-channel shit isn't that. So the only thing I can praise, and I'm going to have to fucking open a video, aren't I? And risk copyright infringement for you people. And I mentioned Eminence and Shadow, so I'm going to have to open up Eminence Season 2, Episode 1. But this is just stereo, right? I could tell you, because you go to the audio track thing, and it says Japanese AAC, low compression stereo, or low quality, I don't know, whatever LC stands for with AAC. And you'll notice, all the fucking lights are still on. All the lights there showing the speakers. It says surround mode, it says PCM, it says HDMI. Nothing's changed. But when you hit play, you got the ambiance of the fucking leaves blowing. You got a half-naked cat girl. That woo came from the sky. How does it know to do that? Alright, here's another thing that weirds me out. I'm standing here, right? Are you ready for some fucking shit? I'm standing here. This is a stereo content. That means just those 2 channels should be getting signal. I hit play. I hear her. It's coming right from her mouth. It's using the center speaker. It's using the side speakers. And it's using the Atmos speakers. Not at all. It's blending the three to move the sound there. It doesn't even know the speakers there are higher than the center. But I'm not hearing perfect 100% dialogue coming from the center channel. But I'm hearing perfect dialogue coming from the television. It's blending those. And why do I hear the awoo come from the Atmos, but now she's just speaking on screen and it's the same?
It's
just vocals? Oh wait, let's go to another like big. All that like the music, the soundtrack, all of that is everywhere else. And just the vocals are centered. That's processing. I don't have to worry about getting the just the fucking ambient music is just around me, and the vocals are still straight, and then the explosion happens and everything lights up. It's like, how you do that? You piece of shit with your broken ass door. You broke, literally. It's broken. Your door is fucking broken. It's just double stick tape. I'm going to rip that fucking door off because it serves no purpose but to hide the buttons and say Elite on it. How's it do that? There's the fucking... That's why that's the best surround receiver that I've ever had in this house. Because I've fed stereo data into a ton of receivers over the years. In people's houses, we've watched shitty things. Shitty old things. Like YouTube videos. I've watched tons of them. They're just stereo. This is the first time that I could put on a stereo source, and I haven't even talked about music, but you know, music in spread out Atmos is also fucking amazing. Now, I don't want to put it on. I don't want to get copyright infringement for that. I might get away with Eminence and Shadow, but I'm not going to get away with copyright infringement for music. But it's the first unit that if you strip away the shitty build and the lackluster amplification performance, the actual abuse of the signal to get it to sound cohesive in this fucking mess of speakers is phenomenal. If you're looking for a processor, just take this thing, plug in your fucking RCAs, throw it in a closet so you don't have to see it or interact with it or touch it in that fucking blue LED. Some of this Audiophile gray tack to make that blue LED. At least that one has to go away. I don't have the network. I know what the network's disconnected, so that's why the network's light not lit up. Take that receiver, stuff it away, put a goods amplifier in it. That Emotiva I will link to. It's not even that much. It's like, is it the same price? I think it's under. I think it was $700. It was 7 channels, $700. Worth it. If you want to go even cheaper, I'm not joking. I will link to the Faux V3. You need 4 Faux V3s at $89 plus as a coupon. So that will be under $400. You get 8 channels of amplification. You plug in your RCAs. You set your volumes to maximum on the Fauces. You plug in the fucking massive stack of power bricks. You'll have infinitely better. In fact, it would be better than probably that Emotiva and more powerful than Emotiva, but you'd have infinitely better powering of your speakers than this Elite. You got to do the biggest fucking things to Elite. It's the Pioneer Peasant series of as far as build and amplification quality, but it is absolutely 100% Elite when it comes to the physical, the control of the sound. With DIRAC, with doing the DIRAC on your phone and having it do all the things and having it process, because your phone in the DIRAC correction, by the way, is what actually processes the sound. It doesn't have the processing power built in. It uses your phone, or does it use DIRAC servers? I don't think so. I think it's just your phone to process all the signals it received. It bounces them back and then it uploads it, and it's perfect. Then you can go into the control thing and set the speakers back to small, and you could even go into the MC editor because it's not using MCACC, which is their own proprietary one, but it still has all your data in there, and you can look at the points and adjust. It's fucking wild. I'm done. This video is already 49 minutes long, and I think I've complained about that hard enough that maybe Pioneer will take note and say, you know what, maybe we should charge me $100 more. This is all made in China, right? I don't think it's Malaysia. Imagine what $100 in build cost increase would do. Companies never do this. I don't understand. Like, they have this weird mindset where it's like, well, that'll cost us over 8 cents to add that option. Charge. Take your profit margin. It's a $1,000 receiver on Amazon. That means Amazon's probably getting them for $500 or $600, so they could send money to affiliates and use it for shipping. So maybe Amazon gets like 5,000 of those for $500. That means they still have to make a profit, so they're probably building this thing for $220. This is just a complete fucking guess. No science to back this up at all. Let's say it costs them $200 even to build this $1,000 receiver. Put $50 more into the build. Machine some metal. $50. And then you know what? Charge Amazon $550. Have a no gain, no loss amount of improvement on a device. If something could be better for $10 more of Chinese manufacturing money, spend the $10, pass that $10 to someone else, pass it over to me. Amazon will make it $1,010. Please, I'll pay the $10 because it would go so far in making this just a better feeling unit. And fix the fucking remote. I hate this remote. This remote, like I can't describe how just innocuous. Like, there's so many buttons and they're so close together and they all feel the same. And I don't know, maybe my thumbs are losing the feeling. I used to be able to pick up a remote and I could tell, here's a remote for the SVS speakers. And this is great. You know where my thumb is? Look, volume. And then you have a series of 3 in a nice line. They're also very smooth and silky, and a series of 4. But you don't have to use any of those because you're going to be using these bigger buttons. This is a fucking clusterfuck remote. And I've used surround remotes, and I know how fucking clusterfucky they can get. And this, while being nice and small, this doesn't feel like a remote for an elite receiver. I would love to see the remote for the $3,000 receiver. I'm sure it's fucking wild. Anyway, thank you to Klipsch for sending these speakers, which I drilled and installed in my ceiling. Thank you for them for reaching out to Pioneer and getting me this VSX-LS505. It has changed my mind on so many things, but not other things. Like, receivers are all built like shit now, but they're replaceable. You're buying the core, you're buying the heart of this unit, you're buying the processing. Everything else, the build, the amps, that's all secondary. Just be willing to throw that shit away. And again, it's fine for back channels and probably would have been fine for side channels and maybe even fine for Atmos channels. But where you're actually listening to dialogue and music from the fronts, you're going to want amplification that matches the quality of of modern content. Yeah. I'll link to the entirety of because I was originally going to set up the entire Klipsch setup, which was the 80, 60s, 600Ms for the side, 600Ms in the side channels. And then it was going to be, those Atmos channels were going to be the back channels. And then you were going to use the bounce for the Atmos. And I have the 14-inch sub, which I am using the 14-inch sub, but there just happens to be an HSU accompanying it. But it's just better. It's fine like this. Yelling, because this is going to be more of a permanent thing. So now, the next time I get a receiver, the next thing I do, I leave this amplifier there, I pull this out, I plug all the speakers into the new receiver, I judge it harshly, and then I put it back on the Emotiva. Unless I want to do that thing where I stack Faux amps, because frankly, I think that'd be fucking hilarious. Anyway, I'm done. You're done. Patreon subscribe, so they get to see these videos way earlier since I've moved my scheduling. So now they get videos for weeks at a time. If you're looking like, hey, Zeos, where's the review of this thing that just came out? Patrons probably have it. I will continue to make videos fast for them, and it just has to drip out because YouTube's algorithm doesn't like when I go out more than every 3 days. You put a video out every 2 days, it hates you. Every 3 days, it's kind of okay with that. See reviews early for $5 a month. Participate in yard sales for $5 a month. I will probably be selling... Ladies. I will probably be selling the 1U Klipsch KDA 1000NA. This is that 1U rack mount amp. It's a great amp, but it's a weird amp because it's like a 70 volt and you got to get into DSP it and everything. $1,800 amp. Don't really need it. Yard sale. So for $5 a month on Patreon, subscribe so you can bid any amount of money. I'll find the box of that, ship it back out to you. You got it. That happens once a month or maybe every other month. It did not happen in the month of October because I had SoCal Can Jam. It kept me busy. I haven't shipped out still to this moment. The September yard sale stuff, again, SoCal, then a wedding, and then I just got back and I was sick, and it was a whole thing. So yeah, yard sales do happen. I promise they'll happen. And then sound demos. So like for speakers, I have speakers and headphones have specific sound demos. Those are found only available privately now, not online, because YouTube, again, problems with YouTube. And then for $10 a month, where you really want to be, because you get the behind-the-scenes Telegram chat with, we got up to 200 members last cycle. Every 3 months we dump it, and then only current members are allowed back. We got back up to 200. It's been a while since that. So if you want to talk with all those people and me and ask me questions directly, and once you're in that chat, you get into the private behind-the-scenes get into the Telegram chat and the private swap meet channel, which is a lifetime channel. So you get in that, you never have to leave, which is great news for people who never want to leave. I'm going to try to fix... So yes, remember to reverse the audio on this, because when you turn the camera upside down, I have a mirror down here to show my stupid face and how stupid it looks. It's ridiculous. You put the camera upside down, it flips the video, but it doesn't reverse the audio channels. So hopefully in post I fix this. Yeah, that's it. Wallpaper in the wallpaper horde. And I will see you all in the next one.